what are these girls' perspectives on God typically? And are they generally open to like receiving prayer and hearing the gospel?
Yeah, so I would say that it's kind of all over. But generally, one of the reasons I love strip club ministry is because these women know they're broken, right? Like their
Mm,
hearts are wide open generally. My experience has been to receive, whether it is prayer, whether it's the gospel. For instance, I it's like I would rather go into a strip club any day than the suburbs here and try to talk to these people who think they have their lives together, because
yeah.
their hearts are really hard and they're not open to receiving. But when you're broken, when you are in it, in that state, generally, it's like the homeless as well. Anywhere that you're going to go, like Jesus comes, he is near to the brokenhearted. And so
Mm,
there with them. And so I find that generally they are open. Now you get there's also a lot of like witchcraft, right? Witchcraft,
mhm.
new age, like that kind of stuff going on with some of these women too. So I've got some, it's like every time we go in, it's like, nope, don't want anything to do with it. And that's okay. Like
Yeah.
the Lord knows who we're there for. And so he's going to highlight who those specific people are. But it's the wide open hearts that I love.
Yeah, that's so good. I'm feeling all of your answers so deeply. And that's so true too, because I was deep into the new age when I got into the strip club. Just speaking on my personal example, and it is like we knew that we're broken and we're seeking God and seeking healing, but the Christian way, maybe there's like trauma there. Our parents didn't do it right, or we just haven't encountered or truly understand the love of Christ yet. So it was believing in false religions that sort of desensitized this line of work to make me even think that it was something sacred. I thought I was like a sacred prostitute, like reincarnated from a past life. Like I did this, I healed men in past lives. So these kind of false religions are so dangerous because they can also lead women into this line of work and make you think that it's something sacred.
And empowering, like
Yeah.
that's what it was for me, right? Like it was this very like false empowerment. Like I just felt
Hmm.
so amazing. I was just this goddess, right? To be
Yeah.
worshipped. Like,
Yes.
yeah, like it all kind of goes together. Like you said, it's such a slippery slope. All of it all blends and melts together.
Yeah, that's so true. Uh, does anyone else have anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can relate to that a lot, especially with the amount of attention you get in the strip club, the amount of dances I would get. Any club that I had gone to, I became the number one showgirl, so that really filled my head up, right? And so I'm eating it all up, and in my mind, I'm like, you know, the way that I was used by men at some, time in my life early on, the tables have now turned. Like now I'm going to use you. Like now I'm going to take from you, and then it would just continue to feed at my ego. As much money I would make, I just felt even more like glamorous and beautiful, but it is such a false sense of security. Like it's, as somebody said earlier, like how the enemy would pervert, what love, right? Like I confused the sexuality, I confused the lust and the infatuation of all of this with love. And the Lord
Mm,
really was breaking all that down in me. And I didn't know it at the time, but this is really what I was longing for. I was longing for security and love and confidence in the Lord, but how the enemy would use our traumas and influence some of our choices to turn it around and just bring a lot of confusion. And so you're just left so empty. So although in the moment I'm like, oh, look at me, when I left I was like, oh, woe is me.
yeah, yeah. Like the moment you get in your car and you just feel the ick from the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what about you, Kareen, when you are telling these ladies about God, how do they typically respond to that?
I would say for the most part, there is a receptive heart.
Mhm.
And we've had, I mean, I can maybe count on one hand where we had girls that weren't interested in hearing about it, but for the most part, there is a receptive heart. I've had a lot of encounters with women who believe in God. Like some of them are pastors' kids, some of them grew up in the church, got hurt by the church, but they still have, a knowledge of God, and but not walking in relationship with him. And then you have some that are, angry with God. They blame him for,
Mhm.
where they're at. But I would say
Wow.
for the most part, there is a knowledge of God, specifically to Jesus. Like I've noticed that as well. Like the clubs that we have gone to, right? Because there are all these different religions, and I've run into women that practice the Muslim faith, to a certain extent, and different walks, of faith. But specifically, when we go to the club, we share Jesus. We're very specific about the God that we serve
Mhm.
because God is so universal. We want to be able to make that distinction. Like we don't serve the universe. We serve the God who created the universe. And
Yes.
we make it clear that Jesus is the only way to God. There's not many paths to the Father. There is only one way, and that is through Jesus. And we do make that distinction clear, and we do see from managers to bouncers, the DJ, the bartenders, and strippers. They are for the most part very receptive and
Mhm.
wanting prayer and a hug and
Mm.
love. They're longing for something greater and deeper than themselves. And so I would say they're pretty open.
I just love this because I feel like it's bringing perspective to who these girls, just in general, really are. Like, rather than the world demonizing them or shaming them, to see like that these are just really broken-hearted women who maybe don't have the right guidance and are just temporarily lost. So yeah, I love hearing from you about this. Paige, did you have anything to add to this talking point?
Yeah, I just agree with you. I'm glad that the Lord just put so much compassion in our heart for these women and that we can just portray that because they are hurting. And like both Corrine and Kelsey were saying, they're hungry. They're hungry for something more. They're just looking for it in the wrong place. So we too have seen a lot of
Yeah.
receptivity and they're just hungry and eager to learn more. And there are some, like Kelsey was saying, they're like into witchcraft or something and they're just closed off, dismissive. But it's like the Lord will let us know immediately and they'll just kind of walk away. But for the most
Mhm.
part, they're so excited to receive, like we bring the gifts and or a rose, they're so excited to see that. They're like, for me. And the love of God leads us to repentance. And so when they see that love, they see that joy, the fruit of the spirit, like we're all carrying into those clothes, it draws them in. There's something attractive about that. Even women that said they weren't quite sure about the Lord, but she's like, there's this like positive energy about you. We know it's not energy, it's the spirit, but they're drawn in by that. And so when you carry that and you walk in that authority, like things shift in the atmosphere.